Hello and welcome, this is your host Mr. Onyx. Today I will be telling you a story of an individual who experienced a creepy encounter with an unknown entity. This Reddit user is Benign Lemming 31. Let's get into it. Before I was born, my parents built a cabin in the northern White Mountains of Arizona. As a kid we would go up there every chance we got. Summer break was spent up there. My parents had friends up there with kids my age, and we'd always run around the woods hanging out and just being kids. We used to tell scary stories of an old abandoned property down the way from all our cabins, but we would never go there. You could not miss this property if you tried. Going down the dirt road to our cabin there was this giant field on the left. Right in the middle of it was a property that was clearly abandoned and had been for decades. It had quite a few structures on it, namely a large green two-story barn, a red airplane hangar and a white tractor barn. It also had a house nestled up on a hill with the only tree on the entire property. The house looked eerie with its broken windows and peeling paint. The tree was always filled with crows, something straight out of a horror movie. As kids we would never dare to go there. We would maybe venture towards the front of the property line if we were really daring. As teenagers wanting an adrenaline fix though, we would finally venture over there. By my sophomore year of high school we began to go to the property routinely. We even went there at night a few times and explored the many different buildings on the property, always curious on what we would find inside. We found a bunch of odd things there, but one day I opened the drawer and gasped at what I found. There was this old workshop building that had an old workbench in it. I curiously opened one of the drawers and found something I recognized, a Jar Jar Binks notebook that I had when I was a kid. It was mine as it had my childhood chicken scratch all over it along with drawings I made. My name was written in it and so were the names of my siblings as we used it to keep track of score on a game. Dumbfounded that it was in this workshop, I thumbed through it and found some handwriting that I didn't recognize on the last few pages. None of my friends nor my siblings knew how it got there or whose handwriting was in the back of it. In hindsight, we should have taken this as a sign to stop coming there, but we didn't. We continued going to the abandoned property to explore it and get away from our parents. By this point we had made the top portion of the workshop into a hangout spot. We would hear floorboards creak and other scary noises, but we never let it get in the way of us going there. We all thought we could take on anything that came our way. Thinking back to how I acted when I was that age, I was never scared of anything. I was always the first one to go investigate when something sounded amiss. Hell, I was the first one to suggest we go over there. Other than the weird appearance of the notebook, nothing really stopped me or any of us from going there. Until the summer of my junior year, which was 2012. In the summer of 2012 I was 16, about to turn 17 that July. I had recently grown a new fondness for dirt biking and the freedom it would give me. I had just started riding earlier that year over spring break with my best friend named Logan. He started me out on a little Honda 125cc dirt bike, and we would ride all over the dirt roads and up in the woods. He rode a 1994 Suzuki DR200, an old Japanese enduro bike that was fully outfitted with a headlight and a speedometer. I worked my butt off to get to the point where he would comfortably let me ride it, and eventually I did. I absolutely loved having more power, a light for when it got dark, and the ability to tell how fast I was going and push it a little more every day. On this day we had spent the majority of the day riding the bikes down our normal trails. We had finally gotten a break from all the rain as the monsoon had come in and it would rain just about every day, all day. Logan and I were giddy that we had this day to romp the bikes around and not get covered in mud or get soaking wet. We had been riding since the morning and we both decided that we would end the day over at the abandoned barn. Logan had been there plenty of times with me and we both hadn't been over there in a week or so. It was close to sunset and we had stopped at my parents' cabin to get some water and eat dinner quickly. I hopped on the DR200, he got on the 125, and we both started making our way to the property. Being on the bigger, faster bike. I beat Logan to the property by a few minutes. I pulled in the long driveway and turned around right in front of the hangar so that I could watch Logan pull in and we could decide what we would do from here. I let the bike idle in neutral, and just sat waiting for him to come. To get some idea of where I was waiting, I was right behind the hangar. To my left was the green workshop, and in front of me about 20 feet was this old white tractor barn. It was in bad shape. The doors had fallen off years prior and had crumbled to dust by the time we started going over there. On both sides of the barn were huge 15-foot doors for big equipment to get into, and on the left of the door was a small regular-sized door for someone to go in. Since all the doors had fallen off the barn, you could see right through the large doors right to the other side. There were also 3 windows on each wall of the barn. However, you could not see on the left side of the regular-sized door since the door was about 2 feet in from the wall. This is all very important to help visualize what I saw that night. As I am sitting there in front of this white tractor barn, I'm looking out towards the driveway which was to the left of the barn, waiting for Logan to pull up. I never felt uneasy or panicked, I just sat there patiently. At this point in time I was pretty comfortable being on the property by myself. I'm looking out towards the driveway when I see something large move in the tractor barn out of the corner of my eye. I turn my head quickly to look at the barn and I see nothing there. At first, I don't think much of it and turn back towards the driveway waiting for Logan. As I'm sitting there, I started to overthink that I even saw something move to begin with, that I'm just freaking myself out. Even though I'm reassuring myself that it was probably my eyes playing tricks on me, my eyes started to drift away from the road and towards the barn. I became transfixed on it as I saw a pale, skinny white hand place itself on the left side of the regular door. I see this and I genuinely don't know what to make of it, but I can't move. I'm sitting on the bike just completely still, watching. Then I see another hand get placed on the door below it, and before I even have time to process the other hand on the door frame, I see a head poke around the corner, looking at me. I became paralyzed with fear. My ears started to ring, and my head couldn't make any sense of what was looking at me. It was an extremely pale man with eyes darker than anything I'd ever seen in my life. It was hiding most of its body behind the wall and was just peering around the corner looking straight at me. I started to panic, but I couldn't look away, I couldn't even move. I remember thoughts running through my mind telling myself this can't be real and I'm just seeing things, but then I noticed something that would confirm this was real. In its eyes are the reflection of the headlight on my dirt bike. Then I knew, there is no way this is my imagination. My heart started to beat faster, and I started to sweat. There was no way I was going to take my eyes off whatever this thing was. I mean, the only way I can describe it is it looked like Gollum from Lord of the Rings. That's the only comparison I can make to this thing that I saw. And as if it couldn't get any worse, I saw it open its mouth and smile at me, revealing some short, sharper teeth. Up until this point I was too scared to think that my life was in danger. I guess I hadn't felt threatened by it, more just unnerved and scared looking at it because I genuinely had no idea what this thing was. Once I saw its teeth looking at me, I knew I had to get the hell out of there. I knew whatever this thing, entity, animal, person was, it wanted to do me harm. Right as I made the decision to put the bike in gear and hit the road, I heard Logan's dirt bike and saw him pull in the driveway. I threw the bike into first gear and gunned it off the line, yelling at him to turn around and leave. Before he could ask why, I was already past him and at the end of the driveway. I looked back and saw him quickly turn the bike around and start hauling ass towards me. We got back to my cabin and I was completely panicked, sweating, panting, just terrified. Logan pulled in right behind me and I could see he was wide-eyed and spooked too. When he was turning around on the side of the barn, he saw something looking at him through the side window. Before I could start to describe what I saw, he beat me to it, saying he saw black beady eyes looking out at him. We both saw the same thing and it only confirmed that whatever was out there was real. Neither of us ever went back to that property again, and a few years ago it was bought and a lot of the structures were torn down, including the old tractor barn where this thing was. I'm 25 years old now, and I still go up to the cabin all the time. In fact, I was there just last weekend. Typing this story has made me relive this event all over again. I've told this story before to my siblings and some of my friends. It never fails to make me tear up thinking about the true terror I felt that day. Whatever I saw was real, and it haunts me to think about it. There have been weird things that have happened at our cabin. Those stories are for another day, and every time I'm alone out on the porch looking in the darkness of the pasture, I can't help but think of this thing I saw 9 years ago. This will probably haunt me until the day I die.